Alright, went out for a drive, ended up in Ardmore, Oklahoma. This is not exactly what I had planned, but after a couple of other things fell through, I decided I'm not leaving until I get something. So decided to stop at the Greater Southwest Historical Museum. Check things out. Got some stuff outside here, looks like an old fire truck there. Wouldn't have any idea how old that is. It's a Chevrolet, I can tell you that much. But you're probably looking at probably the 40s, maybe. It's old. And here we have a sputter. I saw one of these in Archer City the other day here a while back. This one looks a little bit bigger, or maybe I'm just closer to it. It's a replica of an old frontier cabin we're coming up on here. They had a bunch of people kind of walking around. They were doing some work in the back and a lot of noise and hammering and stuff. So I decided, well, I'll just do a voiceover for the whole thing. And it just shows you some of the things that you might have seen in the cabin back then. We actually had a chair like that when I was a kid. I think that just shows that my grandmother didn't give up on stuff as long as it still worked. Maybe you've seen some of this stuff. It's a Frontier Village there in Denison, if you saw that video. Some of the same things. There's an old powder horn on the wall and a shotgun above it. This is a pretty neat place. Oh, no, okay. It's a little rattlesnake. They had a little showing what might have been in the yard next to the frontier cabin. Snakes and ducks. I'd hope for more ducks than snakes, obviously. Show you some of the tools they may use. See the little saw on the wall there, and the well in the back. And of course, we move on to more city stuff. That's I don't know. I guess they were going for. I guess that was supposed to be like a Superman thing. If Superman used that phone booth, he done come and gone. For the kids that have grown up with phones in their pocket, that's what we used to have to use. Had to have change to make a phone call back years ago, and that's an old operator switchboard. I think that particular one is like one that would be for a business. You'd call, well, you got to talk to a certain person. They just plug you into a certain hole. Got the telephone directory there. It's from 1917. The thing that I thought was funny is got the Dyers Brothers moving with the horse-drawn wagon there, and the phone number 294. Before they even needed more than 3 numbers for a telephone number. And just showing you some of the phones that they have used at troubleshooting. Test phone. I think they still use something like that. And these are some photos. Ardmore, Oklahoma was founded in 1887. And of course, it owes a lot of its growth to the railroad and such, like a lot of communities around here. But the thing is, in 1895, and it was still pretty young, there was a fire, a big fire that burned down about half the town. And so you're going to see a lot of firefighting-related stuff coming up here. That's just some of the early pictures of Ardmore, Oklahoma. We're showing the railroad coming through there. That's the aftermath of the fire. Pretty bad. Like I say, it burned down a lot of the town, and I guess maybe they just kind of, well, we were just barely getting started anyway. So, but you imagine the history like that. Firefighting is going to be a big thing for them. This is an 1888 revolver. This is what the night watchman would have used when the fire broke out. That's all they had to alert people back then, just fire a gun in the air. And you see a representation of the gun the night watchman probably would have been using. You see his desk in the back there. His hat, that's some of the firefighting equipment that they would have had in 1895, the hook and ladder stuff. Imagine being a fireman and they say, well, here's your tools to fight fires. Big hook and a stick and a wagon. And of course that's a replica of the newspaper after the gas explosion. Started the fire, and they kind of updated over the years. That's little more updated version of some firefighting equipment. The wagon with the hoses on it still have the hook and ladder in the back. Now that fire hydrant there, that's one that they would have had right about the turn of the 20th century, when you're getting up into 1915, 1920, in that era. And then this is the fire engine they would have had in 1915. Still powered by horses. You see how far they came as far as firefighting equipment in a relatively short period of time. It's 20 years. These are the kind, this is when they first started using the Dalmatians as well. You see the boots. The boots really haven't changed that much. Alright. Sorry for the tapping. There's a fire hydrant that would have come along in like the 1950s. It's not that much different than the fire hydrants they had when I was a kid, really. And you see some of the breathing apparatuses that firefighters would have used at the time. Luckily, those have gotten better as well. That's the bell that would have been at the fire station. Now, here in a little bit, you're going to see something else. But they had this bell at the fire station, and that's what would have went off if a fire alarm went off. Of course, that's the net that you see those old movies. People holding the net. Somebody jumping out of a 2-story building or 3-story building when it's on fire. Just imagine being in a burning building, and that's what has to save your life. And of course, that's the break glass, open the door, you pull the handle. Probably would have had those in street corners and such, and it would have rang that bell at the fire station. And that's a little bit better than a guy shooting a gun off in the air. And then this is just a representation of banks at the time. Some of the tools that bankers might have been using. They had Prince Albert in the can as well. I guess that's a fan back there in the back, and I think that calendar was either 1938 or 1939, so I guess it would have been like a bank in the 30s. And Speedball apparently was a pen of some kind. I guess that's like one of the first ballpoint pens or something. It took me a while to figure out what it was that was sitting there. And then just that old typewriter, I liked it. Thought that was pretty neat. And here are some old cameras. Again, we walk around with cameras in our pockets now, and a century or so ago you had these. You had to open up the back there. That's what the picture would have been burned onto when they took a picture. You'd never put that in your pocket now, but just imagine setting that up. And of course they had the big flash, get their subject, and I didn't time that very well. There's a flash and you would have come up with a picture or something like that. That's a graduating class from Ardmore High School. It didn't have a year on it, so I don't know what class it was. And guns. No lack of guns in this museum. I don't remember what most of these are, because you got some pump action guns, shotguns there. And that one there is a Kentucky long rifle, a double barrel shotgun underneath that, and then what's left of a Winchester. I can identify those ones anyway. But we're going to get a closer look at the double barrel here. I think that probably would have been your standard double barrel shotgun at one time. And of course, that Kentucky long rifle, that's the first time I've seen one up close. And can you imagine just leveling that thing off and trying to fire it at anything? As big as that thing is. And of course, they had pistols too. That's a dueling pistol. I believe they called that an Aaron Burr dueling pistol. So I guess that would have been like the one that Aaron Burr would have used in his famous duel. And of course, they have several different kinds of pistols there, Colts and such. These would have been just the different pistols that law enforcement or military might have used at the time. I don't remember what that fancy schmancy gun is. They had a little list there, but I don't remember now what that gun was supposed to be. Why it's all decorated up. Like I say, you see several different kind of Colts and such. And of course, that one there is pretty standard military issue gun. And then this is just a look at what your typical, middle class house might. Some of the stuff that you might have found in your typical middle class house back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, I think on up into the 50s. Had several different things in here. There's an old radio. I got a radio with speaker. Wow, a radio with a speaker. All right. You can see a couple of different radios there. That would have been big entertainment back in the 30s or 40s. We're going to move into what probably would have been a pretty fancy dining room for the time. And call up your Maytag repairman. Have him come and work on this and see what kind of reaction you get. And next time you're doing your laundry, keep this in mind. How do you feel about doing laundry now? And then, this will make you appreciate your refrigerator too. Those hooks on the wall back there, that's what they would have used to pick up big ice cubes and put it in this wooden ice box before they had electric ice boxes. And then, of course, the one to the left of that was an electric ice box. And I can't remember what that was. That's some kind of stove, I think. But of course, they had those two stoves in the back. We'll get a closer look at this one here in a second. But I'm assuming the one on the left, probably 1950s era, early 50s. This other one, this one right here, Merit gas stove. I'm assuming that's probably one of the first gas stoves that they had. And this television, this is one, we had a TV that wasn't too much different than that one. That's when I start feeling weird as I see stuff that we had when I was a kid in museums now. Now the Victrola, that's a little bit before my time, the record player there. We did have a record player, but we didn't have one like that. Didn't have one called a Victrola anyway. And then, of course, another radio, the big source of entertainment in the household at one time, and news and such. This is an unusual room. See the chair, the little radio next to it, a hat, and that's a dollhouse. I thought, is it wrong for me to want a dollhouse now? Because that was actually really cool. I liked all the details and it kind of, well, there's a little toilet in there too. The front of it was really neat. It almost looks like the White House. I thought, man, that's a really special dollhouse. That's not like the plastic crap you get now. Of course, sewing machines, National, I'd never heard of those before, but the Singer, we actually had this sewing machine. Now, the sewing machine part was gone. We just had the table. But it just makes me wonder, man, there's no telling what that thing's worth now. And here we have a representation of a schoolhouse, a representation of me and Mr. Spencer's science class in the 70s. I'm not sure how they worked that out, but the schoolhouse is a typical, represents a schoolhouse in the 1920s. We'll get a look at the outside here in a second, but I'm pretty sure they were probably bigger than that, but at least gives you some idea of what a schoolhouse in the 20s would have looked like. And as I'll just go ahead and let you look at the Associated Press room, and there's a department store next to that. I have another video coming up. In the back part of this, they had stuff that was just military stuff, and I've decided to make it its own video. There was enough in there that I just wanted to do it separately. But this is in Ardmore, Oklahoma, the Greater Southwest Historical Museum. It's free of charge. You can donate if you want. I did donate a little bit. I couldn't give them a whole lot, but It's actually a wonderful place. I really enjoyed my walk through there. I don't know if the video even does it justice. It's a great place to go. It was just kind of a spur of the moment trip, but I hope you like taking a look at it. Please check the links at the end of the video for more videos, and I will see you next time.